Amazon is requesting that the FTC chairwoman, Lina Khan, be recused in the antitrust investigations of Amazon. And the reason for this is because Lina Khan is an outspoken critic of not only big tech, because she was a part of the 16-month investigation that led Congress and everybody to say, the recommendation of lawmakers should step in to rein in big tech. But she has constantly spoken out against Amazon, saying that they are too big, saying that they are monopolies, saying they need to be taken apart. And then she was promptly appointed last month or the end, or in this month, I think it was during this month, actually by Joe Biden to be the fifth chairwoman on the FTC's board. So now that's a 3-2-1 split, three Democrat, two Republican. And what Amazon is trying to do is say, listen, there's no way that this director can give me a non-biased opinion or non-biased view of this case because she is such an outspoken critic of us. So she should be recused because it's a conflict of interest. Because we already know that, and I think the wording they used in here was, yeah, under the, let me find it. I wrote it down here somewhere. Yeah, a reasonable observer would get, so given her long track record of detailed pronouncements about Amazon and her repeated proclamations that Amazon has violated the antitrust laws, a reasonable observer would conclude that she no longer can consider the company's antitrust offenses with an open mind. That was the official statement from Amazon in a 25-page memo sent to the FTC for consideration.
Wow.
Now, it's important to note that under the FTC rules, if the commission brings an enforcement or rulemaking proceeding involving Amazon and Ms. Khan chooses to participate, the other commissioners would likely be able to decide on this motion from Amazon. So you're looking at a 2-2 split there, where the two Republican members of the committee generally are on far reaching a different side than Ms. Khan. So you can definitely see that in a 2-2 split. I don't know how that would work, but you can kind of expect that would put a very difficult ability for them to push a lot of legislation through and for her to stay on the case. And even though very few challenges like this have actually resulted in a chairman or chairwoman being recused, there have been a fair number of cases, including big governmental cases, where after the ruling was passed down, the companies then brought up a case that said, listen, this person, it wasn't the argument about what they said in the case. They argued that the argument was that the chairwoman or chairperson should have been removed in the first place. So they were able to find a workaround and said, you can pass that ruling, but we'll just go ahead and set up a court case, and we can more easily prove you shouldn't have been a part of this, because it's much easier in that case to prove that you've said things in the past and you've made indications that you would be biased as opposed to non-biased. So that's kind of a workaround that they need to look at. I mean, I personally don't mind her on this board because, from my personal perspective, I think that tech companies are too big and need to be reined in, and it's a way to hide behind the law. But at the same time, it is objectively true that she probably does not have the most non-biased opinion, and therefore, based on legal rulings and based in a court of law, that may cause the FTC's rulings, if they reach one, to actually be unusable and could be retracted. So this is something too important. And she said in the past that when asked if requests came down for her recusal, what would she do? She said that she would consult with FTC ethics officials. So we'll have to see how all of that works out. We'll have to see what she decides to do. She has the first right to respond to this before it goes to any kind of voting or anything like that. So we'll see how this goes, but Amazon definitely wants that because Amazon is currently a subject of a wide-ranging antitrust investigation. So, including the FTC, who just got the right to review their MGM purchase, that $10 billion purchase of the movie studio. So it's definitely in Amazon's best interest to have her and have it be a 2-2 split and have her taken off recused for this investigation. But we'll see what happens. We'll see how they play this, and we'll see how she responds, and what happens going forward. But that's the newest development on the antitrust front.
Amazon's such a big company that I don't find this surprising that they have more lawsuits.
Well, they've had antitrust for a while. But the problem is no one's really been able to find it. And that 16-month panel they did investigated all the big tech and found that, the recommendation was that lawmakers should step in to rein these in. It will need some lawmakers' help. So the only problem is actually proving that these monopolies and these huge companies are hurting consumers, because that's the traditional definition, or are hurting partners. And in reality, like I talked about yesterday, when Amazon wants pieces of the company, even though I view that as like buying companies without buying companies, getting more power over your competitors in the market. When you think about it, it's Amazon also locking up and saying, look, we'll buy up those shares after we've given you $8 billion worth of business. So it's going to be really tough to argue, because a lot of partners say, I actually like this. A lot of customers say, I love their services because they're so cheap to me. So it's really like what I'm seeing is just a very interesting kind of way to say we have found the way to show ourselves as the good guy while while becoming big and powerful and getting to a point where we're so big that we can actually exert real influence, but all the way up, we're going to look like, these amazing people, and you're not going to be able to hit us with these laws. Very clever, very genius
They're in the
business plan.
long-term game. They're in the long-term game. They're trying to create a dynasty, and they're trying to show benefits for the short term, and that's going to make people happy for the time being until it's not enough for them anymore, and then they're going to realize what has happened, and that's going to take years for these small companies that Amazon is going to try buying up. But
It's already
again,
happened with
Amazon's
Walmart.
in long term.
You can read the book called The Walmart Effect, and it discusses how Walmart kind of boxed its partners into getting the lowest possible prices and getting them to sell, how it convinced all their customers to come out, how it killed other competing businesses because it put them all out and said, you have to basically sell to us at these prices or you're not going to be able to make any business. So it's not the same thing. Like, you have to recognize, like, it's not the same thing because a lot of people are benefiting. Partners are benefiting, consumers are benefiting. So it seems like everybody's winning. But when everybody's winning and some companies making trillions of dollars, that for me is a red flag. When everything looks perfect, that's how I know that there's something wrong, because nothing is ever perfect. No one ever just grows to balloon to own so much physical and digital infrastructure of the internet and become so significantly important in everyone's lives while everybody wins and they're for profit. Like, that just, to me, it just, there's more going on here, and I definitely think it's a long-term goal, like Jeremy said.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're going to be looking into this further as this continues.
Oh, absolutely.